Hello everybody, welcome back. So ironically, I just recorded this entire intro at a forest preserve and came home to do my little editing and none of the sound worked. So I'm gonna do it over again and try to capture the same thing that I did just an hour ago. It's funny, it's okay. I have time to do this and it's what God's brought me to do. So you know what? There's going to be hiccups here and there, and I got to be okay with it and roll with the punches, and that's what we're doing. So today we're going to be talking about discipline, which can be kind of a hard subject for some. Others, it's all you know. But in my life, at least, self-discipline has been relatively non-existent, if I'm going to speak to it with honesty. And so you may be wondering, Hope, why are you talking about discipline if you can't do it yourself? Well, in trying to integrate it into my life and in trying to be like Jesus and closer to God and on this journey that I've been on, discipline has definitely been a huge part of what I'm trying to achieve and a path in order to get there, right? Because without discipline, we really can't foresee accomplishing our goals. So discipline, it can be defined in different ways, but how I'm going to use it to talk today is those little incremental habits or changes that you implement in your life in order to reach a goal that you may have. I wanted to kind of go over, I have the definitions pulled up of disciple and discipline, both very, very similar in spelling and in structure. However, similar in some ways and different in others. But I just thought it was very interesting that they both were spelled similarly. I thought of that the other day and I was like, I gotta go over that. That's pretty cool. Sorry about the wind. Hopefully it's not affecting you too much. But so disciple, the definition and the etymology. The etymology is pretty close to that of discipline, which I thought was really fascinating. They basically are derivative of the same word. Obviously, they're spelled pretty similarly. But the definition of disciple is one who accepts and assists in spreading the doctrines of another, such as Christianity. Also a member of the Disciples of Christ, founded in the U.S. in 1809, that holds the Bible alone to be the rule of faith and practice. So that's in essence what I believe churches that are rooted in truth and pastors that are rooted in truth are going for these days. They're rooted in the Bible because ultimately the Bible is truth. So why would we not be reading it? Why would we not be learning from it? Why would we not be spending time in it and taking what little tidbits we can pick out of it and implementing them in our lives? And then discipline has 4 different definitions according to Merriam-Webster. It can be control gained by enforcing obedience or order, an activity that one engages in regularly to train or improve oneself, which is more so the definition I'm going for when I'm speaking today, a subject that is taught, a field of study, a rule or a system of rules governing conduct or activity. So when you're seeking discipline or when you're working in discipline or when you're developing a discipline in your life, it's just little tweaks. It might be big tweaks, but if you're going to actually stick with it, it's just little tweaks that kind of get you to where you want to go. But the etymology of both words, they both derive from the Latin word discipulus, which can be defined as a follower or pupil or a learner. So really, really cool because you're always going to be striving for discipline and seeking discipline in your life. And why not seek that discipline in the Bible as well? Staying in the Word each and every day is a discipline in itself, among other things that you can adopt in your life. We're going to blow away. But I am speaking about discipline today because I am trying to become more disciplined in my life when it comes to food, when it comes to exercise, when it comes to waking up earlier. I seem to have lost my way when it comes to goals and what I want to strive for. And, getting back into the Word and closer to God has brought me back into that motivated mindset. And I think it's incredibly enlightening to kind of recognize that you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, and you're not staying disciplined with yourself. You're going easy on yourself. You're taking it easy. You're being lazy. And thinking, like, how can I achieve what I want to achieve? It's by discipline. Discipline is hard. It's not going to be easy. It is probably one of the hardest things that you're ever going to do in your life. And sticking with it, moreover, is extremely hard. But once you make it a habit, once you make a habit out of it, and you continue to do it on a daily basis, whatever that thing may be, wake up at 6 a.m. every day, go to the gym 5 times a week, go on a run every day, be in the Bible, be in the Word, read a book, whatever it might be that your step is to get to your goal, it's important that you stick with that for at least the beginning, because once it sticks with you for the beginning, it's more than likely going to come with you long term. So that leads us to today's verse, 2 Timothy 2:3-5. It reads, "Endure suffering along with me as a good soldier of Christ Jesus. Soldiers don't get tied up in the affairs of civilian life, for then they cannot please the officer who enlisted them." It refers to us as soldiers of Christ Jesus, and I think that's a really beautiful picture, because for one, soldiers are not alone. They're among many others, right? So in this army, we have to remain diligent and disciplined in our faith and disciplined in our following of Jesus, because otherwise we're going to be torn down. Armies that are strong-willed and want to be there and want to fight and have something to fight for, they will come out on top, or at least fight to the very end. But those that are not, they don't have deep roots, they're not strong in their faith, they're not strong in their beliefs, they're more susceptible to fail or susceptible to lose, because they don't have anything to tie that to. You and I are soldiers of Christ Jesus, and in that there will be suffering. Discipline and goals and implementation of practice is not easy. You're going to suffer. We just watched Passion of the Christ for the first time. I apparently watched it as a teenager, and I didn't actually watch it, but my mom said I fell asleep every time. But anyways, that is a visceral depiction of what Jesus went through when he was crucified. Just absolutely horrific. And yet he still stood up, walked, and carried an unimaginably heavy cross a long distance to be crucified at the top of a mountain. Like, he was nearly beaten to death and then forced to do that while still being beaten, and managed to do it. Yet I come to challenges in my life and I say, I can't, or yeah, I'd rather not, or yeah, I don't think I'm capable of that, or no, not today. Why? What's stopping you? What's stopping me? Doubt. That's what it is. Doubt, insecurity, the devil. After watching that, and after, becoming closer to Jesus and seeking him more in my everyday life, I've learned that I am pathetic. I'm a pathetic human, and I certainly need a higher power in order to thrive in this life, and to accept that I am nothing, And then again, it's very hard for you to be like, why am I chosen by God? Why am I deserving of this? In the same breath. However, all we can do is work to better ourselves and walk like Jesus. Soldiers of Christ Jesus don't get tied up in the affairs of civilian life. So that could be politics, that could be environmentalism, it could be anything that you stand for or truly believe in. And yes, those things are of importance. I'm certainly not saying that, and I'm certainly not saying that your beliefs are nothing. However, if that of the world is outweighing that of truth, that of the Lord, that's when we're crossing a line. I think it is so freeing to just put your faith in the Lord and put your faith in something bigger than yourself, something bigger than what's around you, the world around you, materialism, those types of things, and say, hey, that stuff doesn't matter. Like, in the grand scheme of things, it don't matter. And yeah, some people could argue me tooth and nail, like, well, it's gonna matter if you know, if the world crumbles, and no, it won't. Not to me, because I know where I'm going. And I know who I'm gonna be with, you know? That's what we have to look forward to. It's, of course, there's always an argument, but I think staying rooted in who you are, what you believe in, and what there is to fight for is going to be very freeing for you, as it has been for me. So I'm gonna put a little background that I made for you guys for your phones and devices up on the screen here. Feel free to take a screenshot of it. I'll also put the link below so that you guys can download it and use it directly from Pinterest. But it's just a little daily reminder that I really like to take, just stating, like, Jesus died for us in such a horrific way. There is no reason for me to say I can't. That shouldn't even be in my vocabulary anymore. And that I have to remain disciplined and diligent in my faith and in my beliefs and in my body and in my mind in order to better myself and reach my goals. So feel free to take that and use that on your devices. It's a great reminder. Other than that, thank you guys so much for spending time with me today. I was a little sick last week, so I have a little bit of footage of me planting the remainder of my seedlings. And then we got some more videos coming next week and the week following with some more material that I was able to capture from this weekend. Everybody's getting outside right now. It's a beautiful, beautiful time to be alive. All the plants and animals, insects, dragonflies, I've seen all of it. It's amazing. We went to the forest preserve the other day, saw a snake, saw some deer out on our big walk with my cousin and her boyfriend. But amazing time to be alive, beautiful time to rejoice that we get to, you know, take all this in. It's really cool watching the seasons evolve. It's amazing. Today we're going to be doing some seedling planting, and then I'm also going to go over with you guys like a little visual of how the garden's going to look this year, so you have a general idea of once everything's planted, what that's going to look like. All right, let's get into it. All right, here we are again, planting some more seedlings. Today we're going to do our cabbage, tomatoes, kohlrabi, cucumbers, basil, pretty much the remainder of what I'm planning on growing this year. So I already mixed our soil here, and I have our seed tray that we only filled halfway last time. So you'll notice this table I picked up, it was on the curb in our neighborhood. It's actually going to be our next video. I'm going to turn it into a planter bed, but I'm super excited to do that and have you guys along for the ride. Should be fun. Just doing 2 per cell once again, just to guarantee that we have a yield. And then I'll thin them out once we get to a healthy point. And for the basil, I'm going to put like 4 or 5, just because they will do well like that, he'll be fine. I can thin him out if need be, or wean out the less strong seedlings. Then cover these guys up. Next, we're gonna do our tomato, 5 different types of tomatoes, and then I'm gonna split the last row for kohlrabi and cucumber. And then go in again with our earthworm castings. These are just some methods I use to store my seeds. I just write a little snippet about each seed, their scientific name, when I planted them, and when I harvest them. And then this is how I store my seeds. So I just put them in these test tubes or little envelopes to keep them safe and dry when I'm not using them. And then I'll also store the packets in this binder so that I have all the instructions for future use. So now I'm going to show you what I plan on my beds looking like. Last year I utilized this bed for primarily tomatoes and basil, and then I tried to grow some herbs on the other side here by where the radishes, or sorry, the beets and the carrots are. They didn't quite work out, so what I'm doing this year is I already planted those beets and carrots. I'm going to put one kohlrabi plant over here. I'm going to do all my tomatoes and basil. I'm also going to do a trellis in the left-hand corner here with the beans, have the beans climb that trellis, and then have some marigolds and some flowers in between just to keep the pests away. And then this is my other bed here where all of our peppers, cabbage, our garlic is already existing there, broccoli, and a cucumber will go. Again, I'm going to have a trellis that goes from where that cucumber is sitting at to the other side of my other bed where my beans will be climbing and the cucumber will be climbing. This is subject to change. We do use a lot of cabbage and I wanted more of a high yield this year. I understand it's very cramped, but I'm working with what I have and it'll all work out just like it did last year. The garlic will probably come up mid-July and then I can replace that spot with something else. Thank you guys so much for watching. I genuinely really appreciate it. We're going to be having some great content coming up soon here as we're getting nearer to the summer months. Feel free to check out that link in the description below regarding the Chicago Marathon. I'll also be linking the phone background in the description so you guys can have access to that as well. But other than that, have a wonderful day. God bless you, and I'll see you in the next one.